9 o'clock on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Tracking the potential for scattered showers and thunderstorms return to Middle Tennessee during the full forecast in 2 minutes. Hurricane Beryl hammering parts of the Texas Gulf Coast. More on that in a moment after we tell you about the very latest on President Biden's future in the 2024 presidential race. A letter posted to Biden's X account, purported to be from Biden, says he isn't going to step aside. Calls otherwise need to stop, he says, saying he is convinced he's the only one who can beat Donald Trump in November. This letter is 2 pages long. It comes as more Democrats are joining the chorus of those saying he needs to step aside. Rachel Smith.
I was told on this call House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries didn't outright call or support President Biden. He allowed his members to express their concerns. All of them right now are in listening mode, and they're taking what they're hearing from their members and going right back to the administration and with the president.
Rachel Scott reporting there. Early Hurricane Beryl damage reports coming in from parts of the Texas Gulf Coast. Here's Victor Oquendo in Galveston.
In Sargent Beach, storm surge moving in.
Oh, wow.
Overtaking the area. High winds and waves hammering vehicles. In Freeport, Texas, numerous power flashes as winds began taking out power lines.
Yeah, at least 1 million people and businesses in the Houston area are without power. Beryl made landfall as a Cat 1 hurricane, packing 80-mile-per-hour winds. And the Justice Department says Boeing will plead guilty to fraud, pay an additional $240 million fine, and be overseen by an independent safety monitor to avoid a criminal trial for lying to regulators about safety. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
9:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thank you once again for welcoming me back to your radio. Had a couple days off. Hope you had a great weekend as well. Mason Fleming is producing. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
It's good to be back.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while.
It has. It felt like quite a few days off. I went through
just a little bit.
Went through the hills, Lexington, Kentucky to West Virginia, Kermit, West Virginia, to be exact. Let me fix that camera.
Thank you. I was just about to say, I was like, you look a little cornered there.
Twisted,
yeah.
So we went, took the kids, went to some minor league baseball games, and then we got some fireworks.
How was the game?
Oh, the game was great. We didn't pay attention to it at all.
Sometimes that's the best kind of game.
It's the best. I mean, we went in, and the ballpark in Lexington has like a little playground and one of those huge inflatable slides. So we jumped in, and we're like, okay, guys, go play.
Yeah, as you should.
And then we got some hot dogs. We got some pretzels. We got some nachos.
Are you a big baseball fan?
I love the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to bring your family to any sort of game, nothing beats baseball.
Yeah.
Because the game is so secondary to spending time with.
What's going on around it. Yeah, absolutely. I was like, I never really enjoyed a game of baseball, but hanging out with friends at a field, probably one of the best times I've ever had.
100%. Yeah, the game is so secondary.
Yeah.
So it was about hot dogs and family time and getting some ice cream, and it couldn't have been better.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys had a good time.
And then we went through the hills of West Virginia, and we rounded it out with a day on the lake, and then I didn't have my phone out almost all weekend. And I'm thinking, like, this is the best 4th of July ever, and how peaceful it was and how chill it was. And then I realized that not everybody spent their 4th of July like I did. No. I mean, in Chicago, there was at least 100 people shot during the 4th of July weekend, which I don't know how they keep getting away with it, because you can't get guns in Chicago. They have some of the strictest gun control in the country, yet almost 100 people shot. 100 people shot. Monday morning, CNN reported the number of gunshot victims was at least 100, 17 of whom died. That was in Chicago. There was also chaos in Philadelphia, the same place where our country was born, founded. Philadelphia had protesters burning American flags and Israel flags in the streets on 4th of July, outside of City Hall. Did you see that? Insanity. About 400 anti-American agitators, protesters outside of Philadelphia's Rittenhouse Square on July 4th. And they were holding a All Out for Gaza rally. So they marched to Philadelphia City Hall and then decided to burn American flags while waving Palestinian flags on the 4th of July. What has happened to our country?
Keep an American tradition alive. That's what we're doing here.
Jeez Louise. Officers said that arrests were made and the agitators were throwing bottles at the officers when they attempt to clear those setting fires.
Jeez.
It was after the fires began that police moved in, saying that they're all for the First Amendment, but that violence and property destruction would not be permitted. Burning American flags on the 4th of July. That's what they were doing in Philadelphia. In Manhattan, there were also protests. Chants of F America were ringing through the streets in Manhattan on Independence Day. Activists chanted F Israel, F America. Other radicals cheered. Some chanted Death to America. Just the most patriotic celebrations in Philadelphia, in New York, and Chicago. There was over 100 anti-Israel activists on July 4th burning American flags in Manhattan's Washington Square Park as part of a coordinated protest called Flood Manhattan for July 4th. So patriotic. Activists chanted F Israel, F America, Death to America. Their faces were covered, torches were carried, waving Palestinian flags. These agitators called for revolution against America, on the day that we're celebrating the nation's founding. They walked through Greenwich Village, chanting that against the nation, and then they chanted against the nation that celebrates their rights to speak freely. Insanity. Where are these people coming from? Where are these people coming from?
You have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.
You have to stop it. They didn't. And then also one of the other things I noticed as I'm getting back into the fray and diving in the weeds, Did you see that President Biden finally changed his Pride Month Twitter banner after he was mocked relentlessly on the 4th of July? Yeah, he left it up too late. You're supposed to be over in June. July 1st, it should have been done. But on Thursday, Biden was called out over his Twitter account featuring a Pride Month photo instead of one honoring the 4th of July. Libs of TikTok pulled this up. The president then discreetly changed the photo after Libs of TikTok called this out because he was being mocked relentlessly.
I'm trying to think of him trying to figure out his Twitter password. It's like, wait, where's Twitter? On my phone, I can't find. Oh, it's X now? What? Who changed it?
Everybody was going in on this. So it's on the 4th of July. His Twitter banner photo says Happy Pride Month. You had people commenting, Joe Biden and the Democrats hate America. You had Juanita Broderick tweeted, someone needs to do tire marks on it, talking about his banner photo. Somebody said, in his defense, I don't think Joe's woken up from his nap yet. And then after about 2 hours had gone by with conservatives mocking the president on Twitter, he changed his banner photo to Happy 4th of July. Libs of TikTok said, congratulations, everyone. We just forced some intern to work on a federal holiday and changed the picture on the official POTUS account. Great work. Great work, everyone. That's the 4th of July recap. And then, one of the things that I was really looking forward to was this Biden interview. The interview that was going to save his candidacy. And yet all it did was raise more questions about his mental fitness. He was asked about what Nancy Pelosi said. Remember, Nancy Pelosi last week said, we're wondering if this is an episode or if this is a condition. And he was asked about that.
Let's start with the debate. You and your team have said you had a bad night. But your friend Nancy Pelosi actually framed the question that I think is on the minds of millions of Americans. Was this a bad episode or the sign of a more serious condition?
It was a bad episode. No indication of any serious condition. I was exhausted. I didn't listen to my instincts in terms of preparing, and I had a bad night.
I mean, he sounds like he's still exhausted. It was a bad episode. Bad night. But he still sounds just as sleepy as he did on the debate stage. He doesn't roll into the interview with any sort of vigor at all.
You say you were exhausted, and I know you've said that before as well, but you came, and you did have a tough month, but you came home from Europe about 11 or 12 days before the debate, spent 6 days in Camp David. Why wasn't that enough rest time, enough recovery time?
Because I was sick. I was feeling terrible. Matter of fact, the docs with me, I asked them if they did a COVID test because they were trying to figure out what was wrong. They did a test to see whether or not I had some infection, a virus. I didn't. They just had a really bad cold.
Just a bad cold. He was over-prepped. He was under-prepped. He had a really bad cold. He was exhausted. All the excuses from Joe Biden. He was asked at one point if he watched the debate after the fact.
Did you ever watch the debate afterwards?
I don't think I did, no.
I don't think I did, no. Is that supposed to help you out when people think you have a failing memory and cognitive issues? You can't remember if you rewatched the debate? You can't remember that?
I don't think I did, no.
Well, what I want to get at is, what were you experiencing as you were going through the debate? Did you know how badly it was going?
I don't think he knew where he was.
Yeah, look, the whole way I prepared, nobody's fault, mine. Nobody's fault but mine. I prepared what I usually would do, sitting down, as I did come back with foreign leaders or the National Security Council, for explicit detail. And I realized about partway through that, I get quoted, the New York Times had me down at 10 points before the debate, 9 now, or whatever the hell it is. The fact of the matter is that what I looked at is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, no one else's fault.
But it seemed like you were having trouble from the first question in, even before he spoke.
Well, I just had a bad night.
So Donald Trump lied too many times. I was over-prepped, under-prepped, exhausted, sick, and had a bad night. Can't remember if I rewatched it or not. I don't think I did. No. Those are his initial excuses. And then George Stephanopoulos, I mean, he asked him some real questions, but a lot of it, there's no follow-up. There's no actual offense from Stephanopoulos, but there were some legitimate questions. Like here, he said, you've had more lapses in recent months. Is there a decline? Are you frail?
Do you dispute that there have been more lapses, especially in the last several months?
Can I run the 110 flat? No, but I'm still in good shape.
Are you more frail?
No.
I know you spoke.
Keep my schedule.
Yeah, try and do my schedule. Are you frail? Can we imagine any other president being asked if they're frail? This man's on a prime interview where he's going to try and save his candidacy, and he's asked, are you frail? Are you frail? Stephanopoulos also asked him, did your doctor say anything to you after the debate?
Spoke with your doctor after the debate. What did he say?
He said, he just looked at me and said, you're exhausted. I said, look, I have medical doctors travel me everywhere, every president does, as you know. Medical doctors, some of the best in the world, travel me everywhere I go. I have an ongoing assessment of what I'm doing. And they don't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
They won't hesitate to tell me if they think there's something wrong.
Apparently, they're keeping their opinions to themselves.
What did your doctor say to you? He just stood there standing with his mouth agape. It looked like he'd seen a ghost, actually. What do you tell him? He said I did a good job. He said, good job, Mr. President.
I mean, I think most people would be shocked if they saw a ghoul in real life.
Honestly. And then Stephanopoulos said, have you gotten a full neurological cognitive evaluation?
I know you said you have an ongoing assessment. Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. Yes.
Have you gotten a full neurological or cognitive evaluation? No, I don't need one. That's essentially what he says. I'm fine. I have a cognitive evaluation every day, he says.
But you don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need it. Here's the thing. If that's what people want, well, you give it to them if you're not worried about it. That's what people want. That would calm a lot of the fears in the Democrat Party. But he doesn't do it. And that's the biggest tell. This conversation could be over in 20 minutes flat if you would just take the cognitive test. But he can't, because he won't, and he can't pass it. It's not going to be a good look. He doesn't want to drop out of the race. And so he's not going to. He's not going to.
Elections are about the future, not the past. They're about tomorrow, not yesterday. And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought I could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen.
Yep.
He shut Putin down, did he?
He's the guy that shut Putin down.
Prepared for the future.
Did you know that?
Shut old Putin down.
I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought could happen.
Nobody thought it could happen. Nobody thought it could happen. And I'm not taking no damn cognitive test.
I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. For example.
Goodness gracious.
All this interview did was bring up more questions, provide less answers to Joe Biden's cognitive state. He's the guy who shut down Putin.
Yeah.
He is. He's also the guy sending billions upon billions of dollars to Ukraine. And he awkwardly brags about that as well. I have more audio from this interview on the way for you here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It was a doozy. And they had Biden out everywhere over the weekend. He was in Philadelphia. He was in Wisconsin. He's doing news interviews this morning with Morning Joe. He is adamant that he will not drop out. We're going to cover this in depth. Plus, on the way, Brandon Lewis from the Tennessee Conservative. He's got an interesting story when it comes to state rep candidate Lee Reeves. And he's going to talk about it with us after 9:30. And I have some questions for him as well when it comes to this story. So this is a good local story. Brandon Lewis is a smart guy. He's going to be calling in after 9:30. And we got so much more on the way. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at the Glock Store. You know the guys at the Glock Store. They are your destination for all things Glock. I'm telling you. If you haven't visited the Glock Store, you should, especially if you have any interest whatsoever in Glock handguns, Glock performance parts. There's a reason that they call it the Glock Store. When it comes to the performance parts for your own Glock, you got to go to the source, and the source is the Glock Store. They'll install your performance parts for free while you wait, no matter what it is. Pyramid trigger, tungsten guide rod, they got you. And of course, they have the incredible, incomparable Shoot 270 indoor shooting ranges. This is not a lane range. They don't do that nonsense at the Glock Store. It's you and an instructor in a private shooting room. I've been to lots of gun stores with lots of lane ranges. After training at the Glock Store, I'll never go back. It is absolutely the way you need to be training, and they only do it at the Glock Store. If you've been to other Glock stores, if you've been to other gun stores, you got to check out the Glock Store, because once you find the Glock Store, you're going to find your favorite place to buy and to train, especially to train. That's the Glock Store on Air Lane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike and Briley Parkway. The Glock Store and GlockStore.com. Minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Got a crash in West Nashville, slowing things down on 40 westbound. You got the left 3 lanes blocked right there at 46th Avenue. President Biden defiant, telling Democrats in Congress it's time to stop talking about him stepping aside. Coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Guys, if you just stop talking about it, this will all go away.
Kind of like the economy.
Yeah, honestly.
Stop talking about it.
Well, I think the economy, though, that they just haven't gotten their messaging right.
Yeah.
I thought that was...
The email got lost in the pipeline there.
Honestly.
It's the messaging.
It's the messaging. The messaging wasn't good during his interview with George Stephanopoulos on Friday.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do.
Would you say he's passing that test every day?
He's surely not studying.
You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. Madeleine Albright was right. And every single day, for example, today, before I come out here, I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of, well, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but.
Okay. Don't get into detail. I understand.
Man.
But he says, listen, I'm essentially running the world. And I think that's the scariest part about all this. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
He essentially is running the world. And, he's on big phone calls with...
I'm on the phone with the Prime Minister of... Well, anyway, I shouldn't get into detail, but...
Yeah.
Anyway.
In other words, I lost my train of thought.
He loses his train of thought in this interview so many times.
Uh-huh.
Well, anyway, it's unbelievable. At one point, Stephanopoulos says to him, you do realize that you're way behind in the polls running against a convicted felon.
It's been a two-man race for several months. Inflation has come down. In those last few months, he's become a convicted felon, yet you're still falling further behind.
You guys keep saying that. George, you know polling better than anybody. Do you think polling data is accurate as it used to be?
I don't think so, but I think when you look at all of the polling data right now, it shows that he's certainly ahead in the popular vote, probably even more ahead in the battleground states. And one of the other key factors there is it shows that in many of the battleground states, the Democrats who are running for Senate and the House are doing better than you are.
Well, that's not unusual in some states. I carried an awful lot of Democrats last time I ran in 2020.
Well, okay. That's not unusual in some states, he says. I've carried a lot of Democrats in 2020. What? I don't think he understands that the polling is as bad as it is. And I wonder how isolated he is from the outside world and how easy that is for them to do that. Because how do you not recognize how bad you're doing in the polling? Maybe somebody told him and he just forgot? Is that the best case scenario that we can come up with? It's 9:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We're tracking the potential for scattered showers and thunderstorms return to Middle Tennessee during the full forecast in 2 minutes. And election 2024, a lengthy letter to Democrats on President Biden's X account is defiant, saying it is time for the party to come together, stop talking about him stepping aside, that he is the best chance at beating Donald Trump in November. And right now in Texas, Hurricane Beryl has prompted life-threatening flash flooding and spawned tornadoes. Here's Victor Oquendo in Galveston.
It is going to be a long morning along the Texas Gulf Coast and into Houston, which we know floods easily, residents being urged to stay indoors and off the streets until at least noon today.
Boeing pleading guilty to one criminal fraud charge in a controversial deal with the Department of Justice. It's controversial because family members of those who died in those crashes involving the Boeing MAX 737s do not believe the penalties are near harsh enough, and they want company executives charged as well. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Real quick, we're going to the phone lines. Brandon Lewis from the Tennessee Conservative is on the line. What's up, Brandon?
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm good. Brandon reached out to me last night. He's got a story on a GOP state rep candidate, Lee Reeves. And I'll kind of let you take it from there, and then I have some questions for you. Does that sound good? You give us a breakdown?
Yeah, by all means. So, I have eyes and ears all over the state. People send me things. Sometimes it's worth looking at. Sometimes it isn't. But there's an opposition research firm called the Lion of Judah, and I happened to have done a podcast with this gentleman a couple of years ago. Didn't think anything about it. And essentially what it is an operative posing as someone who wants to find housing for an illegal immigrant, calls one of Lee Reeves' apartment complexes, and they bend over backwards. We don't need any documentation. Yes, about 80% of the people that we lease to are according to the lady that works for the apartment complex, says they're fresh from their country. And to me, it's something GOP primary voters need to know about, simply because if somebody does something for a living, right, you make money doing it, you're very unlikely to try to pass laws that are against your own self-interest. And when I spoke to Mr. Reeves about it, he was very respectful. He was very kind. Somewhere in the conversation, it got brought up. So you're saying I'm supposed to pass laws that are against my self-interest? And I'm like, yes, that you don't represent yourself when you run for office. That's why they call it serving, not being served. And if primary voters want to deter illegal immigration, then yeah, and anything you should and can pass, you should. And so we'll see how it plays out in the primary. But it is, to most GOP primary voters, a matter of concern.
So I want to back up just a little bit. So he owns apartment buildings, this GOP candidate, Lee Reeves, correct?
Yes.
Do we know how many apartment buildings he owns?
I do not. I didn't ask him about his entire real estate portfolio. So I'm not exactly sure how many. I know that he's not exclusively the only owner of this complex. I think there's like 20 some odd. I don't know if he owns 25% or if he owns 2%. So you'd have to ask Mr. Reeves that.
So I guess my concern on this is how is this pinned on Lee Reeves specifically? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it's in the eyes of the GOP primary voter, because it's not me. It's not our opinions don't matter. Their opinions do. And when you ask people, like I just did a Twitter poll and said, if you knew that someone housed hundreds of illegal immigrants, would you be more or less likely to vote for them? And like 96% said less likely. And so it's just an issue of when you make money serving a population that you're claiming that you're going to, discourage. It just asks the question, okay, now not only does this guy have to do the right thing, he has to do the right thing simultaneously against his own self-interest, and most people don't tend to do that.
Well, I guess my question would be, and I don't know Lee Reeves, and he has more than a right to come on and dispute this, but I guess my question would be, how much does he know? Or is this an apartment complex where there's a leasing agent with a quota who's just trying to meet her monthly numbers and is like, whatever we got to do to get people in, we'll get people in. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think that there's
typically when, yeah,
I think that there's a fair question of how much does he know about this, or is this something that he owns where it's like 2% and he doesn't deal with it? We say with like Trump with the business records, right? It's like, well, Trump's not doing his own books. So obviously Lee Reeves isn't doing the leasing for these illegal aliens. So one of my very best friends does nothing but sell apartments for a living. I'm actually going to camp with him in Boone right now. So I've heard apartment selling conversations forever. And it takes a long time for apartment complexes to change hands. And there's this huge 18, 24-month due diligence period. You know who's renting your apartments. Nobody invests in an apartment. It's like, well, who rents here? We have no idea. I'm just going to throw my money into this thing. I don't know what the demographics are. I don't know about the nationality. I mean, you could do that. You wouldn't make much money. And so I think it's highly unlikely. People tend to invest in things they've researched, not things they don't know much about.
At least that's been my lived experience.
But at a certain point, though, he's kind of got his hands tied. You know, when you look at the Fair Housing Act of 1968, you can't deny housing to a tenant based on their immigration status. I see a lot of pushback on your story about that. I guess, what would be your response to that?
Well, I'm not arguing the legality of it. The legality of it is obviously like that's how the law is written. But there are a lot of things you can do that are legal that are unpalatable to the electorate. I mean, you can go to Nashville, like a lot of these incumbents who are struggling right now, and their races against these conservative challengers. I know I've seen the internal polling, and it's their voting records, although legal, that have hung them. Giving tuition, in-state tuition to illegal aliens, giving them professional licenses, voting against sanctuary cities, all the stuff they've done in the darkness. But then you run against a good candidate, and all that stuff gets brought to the light. And so the question is not, is it legal or not? The question is whether or not GOP primary voters care. And based upon my instincts and experience speaking to them every day all over the state, I think most of them will.
But do you think that it's a leap saying that Lee Reeves knows that he's renting to illegal aliens, or do you think that is almost a guarantee?
No, because when I talked to him on the phone, he knew about it.
He knew about it.
It's not. Oh yeah. I mean, you can even read I've read his full response in the video on Twitter, and we're running a longer story on it today. And he knows. And I mean, but everybody who owns real estate knows who rents from them. I mean, it's just people. You have shareholding meetings, you get together. These are things people know. I mean, I've owned rental property for years, and you know who rents from you.
So, but what actions could he take to rectify that immediately?
Well, when I worked for Senator Corker on the finance side, when he knew that there would be a huge conflict of interest with all his property ownings in Tennessee when he ran for Senate, and so he divested himself from all his holdings, and he put it up. Actually sold it to another gentleman because he's like, this is going to be a conflict of interest. I got to get out of this. And so sometimes when you run for office, if you've got things that you're like, this is not. People are going to question this. This is not going to look good. I need to just sell it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that would be one way to do it. And so the issue is just that, it's self-interest, right? It's hard enough to get a politician to do the right thing when they don't have money on the table about it. But when they do, I just see people typically work in their own self-interest. It's the reason, in the Tennessee Constitution, it says that men are capricious and they take advantage of one another. And that's why they set up the whole Tennessee Constitution the way they did. And people tend to act in their own interest. And so the role of government is to set it up so that there's so much conflicting interest that the interest of the public is generally served. And so it'll just be a question that he'll have to explain to people, because I assume that anybody that's running against him is going to make hay out of it. I mean, that's the whole point when you run for office, right? All this stuff comes out, and it's a jockeying game, and in the end, the voters get to pick.
If he divested today, would that be enough for you to say, okay, he did the right thing?
I don't think he's done anything necessarily wrong. I don't think he's done anything illegal. I'm just saying he's probably done something like GOP primary voters wouldn't like. Now, can you divest at this point and probably get some credit in the eyes of voters? Yeah. But the issue is there's an old saying in running for office, Chris, if you're explaining, you're losing.
Fair enough.
And you don't want to have to be explaining all the time. Well, this is this, but let me spend 5 minutes talking to you about all the complexities of it. That's why sound bites end up working far more often. But I do think it's an issue, right? I mean, it's just a conflict, and so that's the kind of thing that really, before you run for office, you try to resolve. And if you've got aspirations for running for office, you try to avoid if you can look that far enough into the future.
What time is your longer story going to be out today, and where can people find it?
It's already on TennesseeConservativeNews.com. Jason posted it early this morning. There's documents and ownership trails and all that stuff. But every time, I'll close with this. If somebody runs for office, if you've got any sense at all, you hire a good opposition research firm, right? I mean, anybody who does it without doing that is really kind of crazy, because it's not doing your homework. And so the moment you decide to run for office, your entire life's under a microscope, and that's part of the gig.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, real quick before you go, there was another incident in Nashville over the weekend. Patriot Front Group were spotted unloading out of a U-Haul truck in Tennessee and then marching through, it looked like Broadway. What do you know about that, and what do you think about people calling this a potential false flag? Mike Lee out of D.C. said that.
Yes. I think this is a bunch of BS. Here's the thing. I've been involved in Tennessee politics for 20 some odd years. I've been to every hill and holler in the state.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen anything like that, number one. Number two, and I love it when the leftist Tennessee media, but I repeat myself, always wants to call Tennessee racist.
Mm-hmm.
When you see hundreds of people piling out of U-Haul rented U-Haul trucks with masks on, color coordinated, everything brand new. I mean, that stinks to high heavens.
Yep.
I have seen some whack jobs every time we have any kind of event, or even the left has some kind of event. These crazy people come out, right? They're just crazy. They're professional protesters. They don't care. They just show up to cause anarchy every time. These are not those people. When those people show up to an event organically, like they're all dressed different, they're all weird, they're all, you can say, okay, that's a legitimate crazy protester person. This is somebody on the fringe.
Yep.
I've never seen people show up to a protest, color coordinated, masked, piling out of a U-Haul, all wearing the same outfit. So try to get a bunch of crazy people who live in trailers, they're racist, to get together in a color coordinated outfit and all pile into a U-Haul from the parking lot somewhere. Good luck, buddy. Good luck. I've put together events and organized them my entire life. You can't get humans uniformly dressed inside a U-Haul to show up unless somebody's getting some money. And so I think what I'd love to see, people like Phil Williams, who, always has a lot of curiosity about things until the narrative breaks down, a.k.a. the Covenant school shooting, to dig into this and find out who funded it, who was here, who are these humans that were at the event, who rented the U-Haul.
You would think it would be relatively easy. You just go find the U-Haul place where they got the trucks.
You would think, whether or not the U-Haul company would, disclose who they rented them to. But when you're showing up I've never seen humans show up in a U-Haul. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen humans show up in mass in the back of a U-Haul to go to anything?
I have not.
So this is weird, right? This is weird. It smells to high heaven. And what it is, these leftist groups, because there's hardly any racism left in America. I mean, truly, there's really no hardcore racism left in America. They manufacture and stage these BS events to keep carrying the same old tired narrative. And racism has worked real well for them. They loved being racist back during the Civil War. They love being racist during the Jim Crow, and then now they like being racist against white people. Like, it's just the same old card. They just switch the target, right? It's like so cyclical. And so I think that's what we're seeing again. I could be proved wrong, but every one of my journalistic instincts says, nah, this looks staged.
Yep, I'm with you. Brandon Lewis from the Tennessee Conservative News. Brandon, where can we find you and keep up to date with all the stuff that you guys are working on?
Guys, y'all can go to X, Twitter. You can just search Tennessee Conservative News wherever you get news online, wherever you get podcasts or social media. We have an account just about everywhere that we haven't been shadow banned, which is most everywhere but X. So, guys, we just bring y'all the news. You get to decide. And one thing I will say, Chris, a lot of news outlets pretend to be impartial. We don't do that. We provide news in Tennessee for conservatives and only conservatives who care about our country and our state. And so when we bring stories to people, we have an agenda, right? We have an agenda to inform conservative primary voters as the state's largest conservative news alternative. And I wish that so many liberals and Democrats in the media in Tennessee that masquerade as independent journalists would just come out and say, hey, I got an axe to grind. Here it is.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
No, they don't. Brandon, I love what you do, man. Appreciate you calling in.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day, buddy.
Yes, sir. Take it easy. Have fun camping. It's 9:53.
I'll do it, man.
Yeah, dude, it sounds like a good time. Go enjoy yourself. It's 9:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
New developments in the future of President Biden's bid for re-election, and a man in Nashville claims to have been beaten up, zip-tied, and robbed by a woman as he slept. These stories and more at 10 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Not a good way to wake up.
No,
9:59 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On the way, I got more audio from the Biden ABC interview, and there is some great clips coming out of this interview.
Do you really believe you're not behind right now?
I think it's all pollsters I talk to tell me it's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. Joe Biden says the current race is a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. And when I'm behind, there's only one poll I'm really far behind. CBS poll and NBC, and
New York Times and NBC both have you about 6 points behind in the popular vote.
That's exactly right.
Do you hear Stephanopoulos bailing Joe Biden out when he goes to cite polls? He goes to cite poll numbers, and he forgets which polls, and Stephanopoulos jumps in and bails him out. Yeah, this was a hard-hitting, no-holds-barred interview. I say that sarcastically, and yet Joe Biden still failed miserably. It's 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More of that audio after Ken's newscast, which happens right now.
Ten o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Tell you about the potential for more scattered rain and thunderstorms. Election 2024, Karen Travers has the latest developments.
President Biden says in a new letter addressed to, quote, fellow Democrats that he is firmly committed to staying in this race, running to the end and beating Donald Trump. He tells his party he has had extensive conversations with party leaders, elected officials, and voters, and he understands the concerns being expressed, but says, quote, I wouldn't be running again if I did not absolutely believe I was the best person to beat Donald Trump in 2024. After detailing the record he's running on, the president writes, quote, it is time to come together, move forward as a unified party, and defeat Donald Trump.
Now, that letter comes as Congress gets back from the July 4th break. And right now on the Texas Gulf Coast, Victor Oquendo is in Galveston covering Hurricane Beryl.
It's the first hurricane to hit the state in 3 years, and officials are saying they're concerned more people did not evacuate. Beryl leaving a deadly path of destruction through the Caribbean, blowing roofs off buildings in Jamaica and uprooting gas stations in Mexico.
At least 1 million people and businesses without power in the Houston area. Right now in Nashville, Metro Police say they made an arrest over the extended July 4th holiday related to a robbery call on June 27th where a man claimed he woke up to being beaten with a gun, then zip-tied and robbed of his phone by a woman. 33-year-old Lareya Jackson was arrested on June 5th. Bond set at $150,000, according to Channel 4. And the FAA going to be on the scene of a small plane crash in Macon County today. Emerging Management Director Don Stevens says a man and woman were on board the Super Drifter aircraft when it crashed at Lafayette Municipal Airport, just 25 feet from the fuel tanks yesterday.
It's pretty dangerous if there was fuel leaking from the aircraft itself at the time we got out here, so we had to put foam on that. They were doing a touch-and-go landing and caught a breeze come up, picked them back up, and set them down pretty hard.
Both people on board were alert before taken to the hospital. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
2020 was a close race, and your approval rating has dropped significantly since then. I think the last poll I saw was at about 36%. The number of Americans who think you're too old to serve has doubled since 2020. Wouldn't a clear-eyed political calculus tell you that it's going to be much tougher to win in 2024?
Not when you're running against a pathological liar. Not when he hadn't been challenged in a way that he's about to be challenged. Not when people...
You've had months to challenge him.
Oh, I sure had months, but I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world, like keeping NATO together.
He says he's ready to challenge Trump, but he hasn't yet because he's been busy with wars.
But I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
I feel like they should use that line in a campaign ad for Trump. They can talk about how bad the economy's been, and then right at the end they'll play.
But I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
They could talk about how bad the southern border is, and then right at the end tag it with.
But I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
Yeah, he was doing wars.
I was doing wars around the world. We understand. We understand. We were funding those wars on both sides, it feels like. And, we know that you've been busy.
But I was also doing a hell of a lot of other things, like wars around the world.
I was doing wars. And that's his excuse for, his approval rating dropping. Your approval rating is really, really down. Well, I've been busy. I've been doing wars. And Biden says his critics are wrong and Orange Man bad.
How do you respond to critics who say that by staying in the race, you're doing the same thing?
Oh, come on. Well, I don't think those critics know what they're talking about.
They're just wrong?
It's wrong. Look, Trump is a pathological liar. Trump is, he is... Have you ever seen anything Trump did that benefited somebody else, not him?
I have. Yep, me.
You can't answer, I know.
I've questioned him and his allies as persistently as any journalist has.
No, I know you have. I'm not being critical.
Yeah.
I'm not being critical. But look, I mean, the man is a congenital liar. As I said, they pointed out in that debate he lied 28 times the times, or whatever number, over 20 times. Talk about how good his economy was, how he brought down inflation, how this is a guy who, unlike only other president other than him is Hoover, lost more jobs than he created. This is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID, with over a million people died.
So he says Trump is a congenital liar. He's a liar from birth. And then he runs through every hoax that he can recall. And he also highlights, Trump got inflation down. Trump's economy was booming, but he says Trump is lying there. And he uses the old, he's the only guy that left office with less jobs than he went in besides Hoover. Okay, let's discount the pandemic. Let's discount that. Biden takes credit for all those jobs coming back. But, what can you say? But Biden says his critics are wrong. Orange Man is bad. And he's asked about the senators that are assembling to get him to step aside, including Senator Mark Warner.
On a more practical level, Washington Post just reported in the last hour that Senator Mark Warner is assembling a group of senators together to try and convince you to stand down because they don't think you can win.
Well, Mark is a good man. We've never had that. He also tried to get the nomination, too. Mark and I have a different perspective.
Mark Warner never tried to get the nomination. He didn't. Maybe he's confusing him with Dean Phillips. But Mark Warner, the Democrat senator, did not try and get the presidential nomination.
I respect him.
And if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and Nancy Pelosi come down and say, we're worried that if you stay in the race, we're going to lose the House and the Senate, how will you respond?
I go into detail with them. I've spoken to all of them in detail, including Jim Clyburn. Every one of them. They all said I should stay in the race. Stay in the race. None of the people said I should leave.
But if they do?
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
You sure?
Well, yeah, sure.
What if Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and more ask you to hop out of the race? And he has this weird, goofy confidence. Maybe misplaced confidence. Maybe he understands that it's not going to happen. But it's definitely confidence when you hear him say this.
Well, it's like, they're not going to do that.
They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. They're not going to make me get out of the race. And Biden's been adamant this morning. He's not getting out of the race. He's not. And there are rumors that his family is super close to him and keeping him in that race. Miranda Devine says that we're overlooking the Hunter Biden in the White House story and that he's there for one reason. It's to essentially be president by proxy.
I think people haven't quite given the significance to Hunter Biden's presence in the White House that it deserves. If he is in control of his father, as it appears he is effectively the commander-in-chief by proxy. And that's a very frightening thing for the country.
Yep.
Hunter Biden is devious, intelligent, manipulative. He's always out for his own ends. He really has no scruples and no fear. And so anybody from the Democratic Party who's going to try and dislodge Joe Biden this week has got a very worthy adversary there. I think it will be very difficult for them to tackle Hunter Biden, especially if they underestimate him and don't realize really the kind of control and manipulation he has had for a long time over his father, but particularly now that his father is ailing and will be depending on him very much.
So don't discount Hunter Biden being in the White House, being at these meetings, says Miranda Devine. Miranda Devine's reporting obviously has been phenomenal over the years. She's the one that broke the laptop from hell story. So, yeah, Hunter wants to keep his dad in the race. That's not the only family member that's out there looking out for him. Martha Raddatz over at ABC said that Jill Biden is lashing out at people that want Joe to get out of the race.
Martha Raddatz, the president is talking to a lot of people, but he appears to be listening to a very tight circle.
A very tight circle, and administration officials I have spoken to said that very tight inner circle is telling them he can win, that he needs to keep going. This, of course, includes his wife, Jill, who they said is lashing out at those who want him to get out of the race.
She's lashing out at those that want Joe to get out of the race. That sounds about right. That tracks for what I can only view as the most evil woman in America, Jill Biden. Yeah. She doesn't want him to get out. She wants that power too. Hunter doesn't want him to get out. He wants that power. And during the ABC interview, the question comes up, well, if you want to be in this race, you want to win, how do you turn this campaign around? Because the way it's going is disastrous for the Democrats. So do you plan to turn it around? And if so, how?
What's your plan to turn the campaign around?
You saw it today. How many people can you draw crowds like I drew today? You find me any more enthusiastic than today? Huh?
I mean, I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
Said, you see the crowd I drew today? That's how I turn it around. And anybody draw a crowd like that? And even George Stephanopoulos says, I don't think you want to play the crowd game, sir.
I don't think you want to play the crowd game. Donald Trump can draw big crowds. There's no question about that.
How you can draw a big crowd, but what does he say? Who does he have? I'm the guy supposedly in trouble.
Yeah, you are the guy in trouble. Donald Trump is bringing 25,000 people to the Bronx, deep blue Bronx. Donald Trump has 100,000 people in New Jersey. The polls actually show that Trump is leading in New Jersey now, which is insane. 43-41. That's insane. Can we take a moment and appreciate that? There's a lot of states that could go to Trump that are normally solidly blue no matter who. New Hampshire is in play. Maine is in play. Depending on who you ask, New York is in play. And Joe Biden says, well, I'm going to turn around with my crowds. Do you see that crowd? Yeah. He had 40 or 50 people. It was an incredible crowd for Joe Biden. But America's watching. And we see this man declining. And George Stephanopoulos asked him during this ABC interview, is this a pattern of decline that we're seeing?
Part of the other concern is that this seems to fit into a pattern of decline that has been reported on recently. New York Times had a headline on July 2nd, Biden's lapses are said to be increasingly common and worrisome. Here's what they wrote. People who have spent time with President Biden over the last few months or so said the lapses appear to have grown more frequent, more pronounced, and after Thursday's debate, more worrisome. By many accounts, as evidenced by video footage, observation, and interviews, Mr. Biden is not the same today as he was even when he took office 3.5 years ago. Similar reporting in the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal.
I mean, he reads these quotes. It takes him 40 seconds to get through all of the reporting from the left-wing Mockingbird media that normally defends this guy.
Are you the same man today that you were when you took office 3.5 years ago?
In terms of successes, yes.
Are you the same man today that you were that took office 3.5 years ago? He said, in terms of successes, yes. I would argue, in terms of successes, yes. You've had none. You had none before this.
I also was the guy who put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition.
He was the guy that put together a peace plan for the Middle East that may be coming to fruition. Didn't Trump already? I feel like that episode of South Park where they repeat, the Simpsons did it. It's like, didn't Trump already do that? I think he did. It was called the Abraham Accords.
I was also the guy that expanded NATO. I was also the guy that grew the economy. All the individual things that were done.
I was also the guy that expanded NATO, grew the economy. Okay. Pushed us into World War III. Also, the economy stuff is hilarious because every time they release a new jobs report number, they end up revising it down a couple months later. They just revised the last 2 months of job reports numbers for about 100,000 less. But this is something that he'll hang his hat on and he'll brag about.
Or ideas I had or I fulfilled. I moved on. And so, for example, that was true then. What's Biden done lately? It's just today, just announced 200,000 new jobs.
Again, every time they announce these jobs report numbers, they get revised. They get conveniently revised, and they'll have a big headline saying, wow, 200,000 jobs added. And then that revision gets buried. It gets buried. And even here, I mean, there's so much to deal with on the news on a day-to-day basis. It's like we can't cover every minor revision, but these job numbers consistently are revised down to reflect what they actually are.
We're moving in a direction that no one's ever taken on. I know you know this from the days in the government. I took on Big Pharma. I beat them.
Nobody's ever taken on Big Pharma like Joe Biden. He beat them. He beat them in the most devious, cunning way. He actually mandated one of their products for everyone. For everyone. That's how he beat them. You could get fired from your job if you didn't take a product from Big Pharma that hadn't been tested as well as it should have been. That's how he beat them.
No one said I could beat them. I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done.
Oh. Did you guys know that? All the things that he said he couldn't get done, that they said that he couldn't get done, he did get done?
I took on all the things we said we got done. We were told we couldn't get done. And part of it is what I said when I ran was I wanted to do three things. Restore some decency to the office. Restore some support for the middle class instead of trickle-down economics, both from the middle out and the bottom up. The way the wealthy still do fine, everyone does better. And unite the country.
Oh, so he wanted to restore decency to the office. I mean, he's done that with his topless transgender Pride Month's photo ops on the White House lawn. He wanted to restore the middle class. I'm sure as a member of the middle class like I am, you feel the restorative powers of the Biden administration, right? No, prices are insane. And then he has the gall to say he wants to unite the country. Again, the same man that demonizes Trump supporters every chance he gets. So are we seeing a pattern of a decline? I think we are. And Stephanopoulos asked him multiple times, will you take a cognitive test?
Their concerns about your age and your health are growing, so that's why I'm asking to reassure them, would you be willing to have the independent medical evaluation?
Watch me there's a lot of time left in this campaign. It's over 125 days.
So the right answer right now is no, you don't want to do that right
now.
No,
I've already done it.
No, I've already done it. I've already done it, he says. So the answer right now for a cognitive test is a no. And I just want to point out that the same guy that we saw in the debate, the same guy that's in this ABC interview that I'm airing clips from, doesn't want to take a cognitive test. The same guy who said this in the ABC interview.
Anyway, I don't want to take too much credit.
That guy doesn't need a cognitive test. Anyway, I
don't want to take too much credit.
Yep. Don't. The country thanks you for it. It's 10:22 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand from my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And oh my gosh, do they have some incredible specials for you in the month of July. During July, with the purchase of any new AC unit, you will automatically qualify to enter to win a free 3-day beach vacation giveaway in beautiful Savannah, Georgia. You buy the AC unit, and they'll take care of the rest, getting you signed up for that vacation. Also, in July, the Beehive Club is having a neighborhood BOGO. You've heard me talk about the Beehive Club a lot. I think becoming a member of the Beehive Club is one of the best things that you can do with your money because it's only $99 and you get 3 annual tune-ups, 1 for your heating, 1 for your cooling, 1 for your plumbing, a 10% discount on all repairs, priority front-of-the-line service, a $100 annual accrued replacement credit with a maximum of $1,000, no overtime or holiday fees, and exclusive Beehive member promotions. All that for only $99. But during the month of July, the Beehive Club is having a neighborhood BOGO, so that way you can spread the neighborly love. So if you buy a Beehive membership in July, well, you get to give 1 free yearly Beehive membership to someone in your neighborhood. This is a great deal. Essentially, you could ask one of your neighbors, hey, you want to go in on this together? And that $99 becomes $49.50. That is the best deal in AC business today. And it's all from Busy Bee, your Rude Pro partner. For satisfaction guaranteed, call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, 615-775-7833. That's 615-775-7833. Online at busybehvac.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
New developments in the future of President Biden's re-election bid coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I feel like these developments are going to be developing all week long.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's probably going to be a new one here in about 5 minutes.
Honestly, I'm going through some audio, and now we'll play it after Ken's newscast of Biden doing a phoner with MSNBC. With Morning Joe this morning. And apparently he's just rambling and yelling, and he wants those kids off his lawn.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable that this is happening. I think if we're going to see movement on Joe Biden out as the nominee, it's either going to happen this week or it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, the mainstream is doing to him what they did to Trump for, all 4 years of the Trump administration. Now the mainstream's starting to report how Biden is yelling at people and how Dr. Jill Biden is lashing out at detractors.
But do you know how we know it'll be very serious? Like when we're really coming to the close of Joe Biden being removed by Democrat operatives, it's going to be when the mainstream media shifts focus away from his cognitive decline and puts the focus back on 10% for the big guy. When they put the focus back on Ashley Biden's diary and those weird showers that she took with her dad that were uncomfortable up to an older age. When they put the focus back on that and Hunter's laptop and the business dealings, that's really going to be knives out by the mainstream media. I feel like they're trying to nudge him right now as gently as they can.
Good point.
And there's going to be a change. And it's like, once we see that shift where they bring up the laptop, that's going to be the, oh, crap moment for them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, because he's going out there, and this is going to happen soon. He's going out there and he's trying to prove that he can do it. He was at a rally in Wisconsin, and I'm listening to this. I'm like, this is who they sent out there. My wife said, what did he just say? And I said, well, in my notes, it says Biden gurgles water through some intros.
You've got a former governor, Jim Doyle, Madison Road mayor.
I mean, do you hear him? This is who they have out there talking. Listen, like, we have a former governor, Jim Doyle.
Doyle.
Yeah.
It's not good. No.
And it sounds like it's in like a high school gymnasium.
Yes.
Or locker room.
100%. And this is the rally where he said that he's going to beat Trump again in 2020.
Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Oh, by the way, we're going to do it again in 2024.
I'll beat him again in 2020, and then we'll do it again in 2024. He does a lot of talking at this Wisconsin rally with nothing really being said.
He called veterans who gave their lives serving America, and I was just in Normandy and on the beaches of Normandy and all through that area. And he said...
This part bugs me. He's pushing a debunked hoax, and then he's going to use his son, Beau, again for that emotional attachment, so everybody can be like, oh, his son passed away. That's so sad. But he makes it seem like his son died as a war hero, and that's just not the case.
I have trouble saying this because my son died as a consequence of Iraq.
As a consequence of Iraq.
Who gave their lives, he called them, quote, suckers and losers. By the way, I'll be damned. I'm glad I wasn't with him because I'll be damned to let him talk about my son that way.
It's like, this is like one of the most debunked hoaxes. He's going on TV all weekend and he's calling Donald Trump a congenital liar. And yet he goes out and he absolutely lies through his teeth. And the biggest lie of the Wisconsin rally was this.
I won't forget this. God love you.
He certainly will forget this. It's 10:31 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast in 2 minutes on the potential for return of scattered showers and thunderstorms to Middle Tennessee. Election 2024 following the presidential debate and his interview with ABC News. The stream of Democrats saying the president should exit the race is growing. President Biden is now pushing back, sending a lengthy letter to Democrats posted to his X account this morning that says he is the best chance at beating Donald Trump in November and Democrats need to stop talking about putting him aside. Hurricane Beryl is turning deadly. In suburban Houston, Texas, one person died when a tree fell on a home. Beryl held on to Category 1 status well after it made landfall before sunrise this morning on the Texas Gulf Coast. And here in Nashville, News Channel 5 says Metro has earmarked $200,000 in the budget for a child care study at a time when the average cost is rising. It jumped by 9% in the U.S. last year, according to a report by Bloomberg. Metro says this study is to help parents. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
1036 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. So Joe Biden sent a letter to the Democrats on Capitol Hill, essentially saying, in his best Wolf on Wall Street voice, I'm not bleeping leaving. He's not going anywhere. And he had an interview this morning on Morning Joe with Mika and Joe, and they're, he's in friendly territory, and he's on the phone. It's not a video interview because he's got to read from his script. And while he's reading from his script, he still doesn't make much sense while he's on the air live on Morning Joe this morning on MSNBC.
Democrat, Joe, let me say it this way. The reason I've been out on the road so much all over the country, and while Trump is riding around in his golf cart, filling out his golf cart before he even hits the ball. But anyway,
Yep, but that's Joe. He's got a pre-written quip about Trump in his golf cart, and he baffles it. He bumbles it. He mumbles through it, and he just keeps trying to read from his script.
I stopped by campaign field offices with John Fetterman and Madeline Dean, both strongly supporting me. The president and first lady, we spoke at a campaign ice cream social for AFSCME. Council 13 in Harrisburg. 40 minutes after we spoke with supporters. Stopped by Denim Coffee. I was with the governor of Pennsylvania.
He's been doing a lot because they're on damage control for Joe in his campaign. And I think it's going to backfire on them. I do. The more he's out there, the more prone he is to gaffes.
I wanted to make sure I was right, that the average voter out there still wanted Joe Biden. And I'm confident they do. I wanted to make sure.
He says that he wanted to make sure he was right going out on the road, that the average voter out there still wants Joe Biden. And he's confident they do. A majority of Democrats want him replaced. I think conservatives actually want Biden right now more than Democrats. In fact, that's why I've been pushing conservatives for Biden. I think that we all need to support him as the nominee and get him over the finish line. Much the same way that Democrats were helping Nikki Haley during the primary. I feel like, as conservatives, we should help Joe Biden during this time of need, because we need him too. We absolutely need him too. But he says on MSNBC, he's not going anywhere.
The bottom line here is that we're not going anywhere. I am not going anywhere. I wouldn't be running if I didn't absolutely believe that I am the best candidate to beat Donald Trump in 2024. We had a Democratic nominating process where the voters spoke clearly. I won 14 million of those votes, et cetera. So I not only believe that from the beginning, but I wanted to reassert it and demonstrate that it's true. And I'm going to be doing that all through this week and from here on.
He's not leaving. Anthony in Nashville, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Anthony?
Hey, how's it going?
What's your thoughts on Joe Biden not going anywhere?
It's because he's been deluded into thinking that he's doing well because of the media. It's mostly the media's fault for subjecting us to groupthink like this. It's part of the reason we have this cult-like behavior going on right now, which is kind of sad. And even for all of Trump's faults, I've seen people rightly criticize Trump for whatever he does that they believe to be wrong, versus looking at Biden and everything he does. They just kind of sort of don't acknowledge it or pretend that the other guy is somehow worse than the guy that they're complaining, or just don't even mention it. And I'm just like, this is routine cult behavior. And I'm like, how do you not see this? And that's what concerns me, is that that people are supposedly voting for this guy all because they hate the other guy. I don't know how your brain works if this is how you think this is okay, or this makes sense, or this is good for a country.
Yeah, I'm with you, and they're absolutely. If you're voting for Joe Biden, you're voting against Donald Trump. You're not voting for Joe Biden. I'm convinced of that.
Correct. Because if it was just based on policy, I could understand voting for a vegetable if the policies were better for the country. But this is not the case, because the policy that the Democrats are pushing will destroy this country, because it's already being destroyed anyway. But it's trying to be repaired by what we're doing now. But if it came down to policies and you're voting for a vegetable, I'm going to go with the policies that are better for the country, even if it is a vegetable.
Yep.
Because the policies will get us back on track.
What?
But it's just shocking to see.
100%, man. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Jerry in Kingston Springs. Your thoughts on Joe Biden?
Hey, what's up there, Chris?
How we doing, Jerry? Thanks for holding, man. I appreciate
All right.
you.
It's you too, man. It's all projection with Biden, and he's a sociopath and a pathological liar, like you said. You made a comment about his wife, Jill, being the most evil woman in politics. I cracked up on that. The top three in order, Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Mad Maxine Waters. Now, do you realize they wanted to put Trump in jail for inciting a so-called insurrection?
Yep.
Maxine Waters is on record saying you will hunt them down in public and confront any conservative you see.
Get in their face.
Are you kidding me?
She said, "Get in their face." I think your list. I think your list is good on the top three most evil, but I think Jill Biden is definitely eclipsing them at this
point. She's a social
point.
climber.
Yeah.
She's trying to she's riding off his coattails. She's there for the benefit and the perks of being first lady. But it's all projection. Everything he says, don't listen to. It's the opposite. It's an inverted pyramid of piffle, with this whole party. It's like he said that last caller. It's a cult. And, people who believe that are I feel sorry for them because he's not fooling anybody. And how many golf courses did Obama visit while he was president and Biden was vice president and waste taxpayer money on golf outings? Remember that?
Yep.
So him saying about Trump riding around Trump owns the golf courses. He created them and created the jobs.
100%.
All Obama did was ride around with his dog and play golf, and waste taxpayer money.
Yep.
Brother, have a good
you
one.
nailed it, Jerry. Appreciate the call, man. And this morning he's on MSNBC, and they ask him, how can you assure the American people that you're not going to have another night like you did at the debates?
How can you assure the American people that you won't have another night like the one you did in Atlanta?
Look at my career. I've not had many of those nights. It was a terrible night, and I really regret it happened. But the fact of the matter is, how can you assure you're going to be on faith that can intervene on your way to go to work tomorrow?
Oh, that's a weird take. How can you assure the American people you won't have another night like you did in Atlanta? And he said, how can you assure you're going to be on fate's not going to intervene on your way to go to work tomorrow? I don't really know what to say. I don't really know how to respond to that. Is he saying that, well, anybody could die any day? Is that what is that what he's going for? I'm not sure. Brent in Franklin, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Brent?
Hey, Chris, I feel like I'm the first person to have this notion because I haven't heard it yet. But now we know the real reason they shut down the primaries. They didn't want to have him out there. They said, expenditures, and it's not necessary because he's already won. They didn't want him debating or campaigning and having these kind of things happen.
Yep.
Because they knew what would happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They knew what would happen. They didn't want him anywhere near Dean Phillips or anybody else that was trying to run. They wanted to isolate him and keep him protected.
That's exactly right. And it becomes obvious now that they've been covering up for a long time for, it's sad that Hunter needs it. Why do you think, is it because of future charges that may come against Hunter that he would have to get pardoned for then? And I think that the influence and the money and the power and then, possibly the pardons is really what they're all after. Like, I think it's as simple as that. It's wild. It's like a Spanish bullfight. They stab and they stab, and it's going to eventually come. I just hope he can spend lots of Kamala's war chest and make it to the convention. Yeah, me and you both. I appreciate the call, Brent. There is a few Democrat advisors, Democrat thought leaders proposing blitz primaries to replace Joe Biden. A blitz primary election before the DNC in August. The plan would involve convincing Biden to step down as the party's nominee, which is going to be difficult.
it's going to be difficult. He's surrounded by Hunter. He's surrounded by Jill. They don't want him stepping down. So that would be step one. That's a hurdle. But then they would have to have other candidates jump into the race. According to a memo obtained by Semaphore, the official nominee would then be chosen by delegates at the convention. However, convincing Biden to quit the race is a daunting task. He is all over the place saying that he is not leaving. And the proposal that's been drafted by Ted Dintersmith, he's a venture capitalist and a Democrat donor, as well as Rosa Brooks, who's a former Biden campaign advisor who served under Obama, served under Clinton. The pair have reportedly floated the idea to Democratic donors and officials with the Biden campaign and the White House. Dintersmith told Semaphore that they hope to change the current narrative in Washington that the Democratic Party is in peril, saying, in the midst of malaise and crisis, we can forge an uplifting path. The blitz primary, as they're describing it, would be carried out as follows per this memo. In mid-July, Biden would step down. Then they would announce a blitz primary, which would be supported by Kamala Harris. Then new candidates would have a few days to make their bids. DNC delegates would then select 6 candidates who would campaign in the month leading up to the convention. Each candidate would participate in weekly forums moderated by cultural icons to excite voters. Cultural icons like Michelle Obama, Taylor Swift, Oprah. And then the Democrat nominee would be chosen by delegates using ranked choice voting before the start of the DNC convention in Chicago on August 19th. The new party candidate would be announced on stage at the convention with Biden, Barack, and Bill Clinton. That's one of the plans that they're floating out there. Crazy. The hurdle that you have to get over, though, is Joe Biden stepping aside. This is him this morning on MSNBC.
I'm not bad at what I do.
Yep. That's Joe. That's delusional Joe. I'm not bad at what I do.
And now, it doesn't mean I never make a mistake. I do. But I'm making those decisions.
Dude, does anybody believe that Joe Biden is making the decisions in the White House currently? Honestly. Even MSNBC asks him if he's been tested for any age-related illnesses, cognitive decline, Parkinson's, all the things.
Have you been tested for any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences?
Look, I had before, I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong, I had an infection or something. They tested me, they gave me those tests, I was clear. So, but look, I had a bad night. But the fact of the matter is, look at what I'm doing. I mean, let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case. The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. That very night, it drives me nuts, people talking about this.
Joe Biden clearly angry, clearly delusional. He's out because people are talking about this. They would much rather have him campaigning from a basement, hidden away, so that way people couldn't see the decline. But it's obvious. It's apparent to everyone. Democrats and Republicans alike see the decline in Joe Biden. Let's go to Brian in Pleasant View real quick on Sleepy Joe. What's up, Brian?
Hey, bro. I get such a kick out of looking back at things that Trump said that have proven true, like Nostradamus. You know, he called him sleepy a long time ago, and then for this to be he's not our president, first off, but to be in the White House, to occupy those rooms that other great men have occupied and run this country, and to ask, can I just work from 10 to 4? And we should be livid that that's going on outside of them running for the exits right now on the Democrat side. They'll eat their own. They have no loyalty. They don't have any integrity, any character. They're the worst people in the world. And the thing that we should do, and it's hard for me to do because I'm not full of it, full of the love and the prayer, is that we need to pray for them. They need it. They need it really bad.
Yep. I hear you, man.
The sleepy moniker that he gave him a long time ago, how well does that fit now?
Oh, it fits perfectly. It's on the nose, and I appreciate the call, Brian. 1 in 3 Democrats currently want Joe Biden to step aside. 1 in 3. That's catastrophic for the Biden campaign. Catastrophic. And the Dems are lining up. The Dems are lining up saying you got to step down. Rep. Angie Craig out of Minnesota. Julian Castro says Biden's in denial of his decline. Rep. Mike Quigley, a Democrat out of Illinois, urges Biden to step down and let someone else do this. Is anybody going to get to Joe? You got to get through Hunter and Jill first. We got more audio from Joe's interview with MSNBC on the way. Hang out with us. It's 10:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, it's Chris Hand for my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. You know the guys at USS. They've been doing your foundation work and repair in Middle Tennessee since 1994. I've had the chance to personally sit down and meet these guys, and I got to tell you, they're good people, honest, hardworking guys and gals, proud of the work they do. And if you're noticing some of the red flag warning signs that you have foundation issues, well, you should call my friends at USS. Well, what do these warning signs look like? Well, you could have the dirt pulling away from your foundation, maybe cracks in your bricks, sinking steps or sidewalks. These are all red flags that you could have foundation issues. And when you have foundation issues, you want to ignore it and pretend it's not happening. But what you really need to do is call somebody you trust. And the guys you can trust are at USS. Again, they've been in Middle Tennessee since 1994. They're going to come to you, and if you need that foundation repair or waterproofing work done, you're going to also get the peace of mind knowing that USS provides an honest diagnosis, will stand by their work and warranties. This is huge. They're right here in Middle Tennessee, serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Western Kentucky. They're online at USSTN.com, and you can call them today. Expect their best. That's what they guarantee. Call USS 615-488-7855. That's 615-488-7855. Online, USSTN.com.
11 o'clock on the dot this Monday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, tracking the potential for more scattered showers and thunderstorms here in Middle Tennessee. Got the full forecast, timing it out for you in a couple of minutes. President Biden pushing back at the growing number of Democrats who want him to step aside and not run for re-election because they don't think he can beat Donald Trump. Well, a 2-page letter was posted to his X account this morning telling congressional Democrats he's the best chance at beating Donald Trump. Then he went on MSNBC's Morning Joe.
I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Meanwhile, a private meeting of Senate Democrats to ask Biden to step aside was canceled after news of that private meeting leaked to the media. Right now in Texas, Jim Ryan's covering Hurricane Beryl.
With 80-mile-an-hour winds, Beryl came ashore at Matagorda Bay, and along with the extreme gusts,
we've got substantial flooding along the Gulf Coast.
Mitch Thames of Matagorda County is pleading with the public.
Please stay where you are. It is not safe to be on the road.
In suburban Houston, meanwhile, one person died when a tree fell on a home. Headed into the midday, Beryl had knocked out power to 2 million homes and businesses.
And the Justice Department says Boeing will plead guilty to fraud, pay an additional $240 million fine, and be overseen by an independent safety monitor to avoid a criminal trial for lying to regulators about safety related to those fatal plane crashes that killed more than 300 people in 2018 and 2019 in Indonesia and Ethiopia. The relatives of those victims blasting that deal, asking a judge to reject it. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 11:05 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram. All of them are the same, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. Joe Biden has been everywhere this weekend. Wisconsin, Philadelphia, D.C. He did an interview with Morning Joe this morning. And RNC Research has been posting clips. They're a great Twitter account. But this one they have titled, Biden is rambling like a cognitively declining madman. Yikes.
Was it an interview or was it an exposing rally here?
This is the MSNBC interview. You want to give me a little audio? This is Joe Biden rambling like a cognitively declining madman.
The Biden plan, which got in Israel for the Gaza Strip, is something that was adopted by the UN Security Council. Whether it comes to fruition, it's awful close. We'll see. G7's but look, I'm not going to explain any more about what I should or shouldn't do. I am running. Mm-hmm. And if you want to stop me...
So that's his best way of saying, I am running. I'm running. He also says that the American public is not going to move away from me. That was one of his quotes this morning.
Because I've got a pretty good political instinct and eye. And here's the deal. It's not going to happen here this time around. The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. Because
the average voter is not going to move away from Joe Biden. He's got good political instincts, he says. And then he gets angrier and angrier. And at one point, he's screaming into this telephone, challenge me.
The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot. Just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Challenge me at the convention, Joe Biden says. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. Amy in Mount Juliet, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Amy?
Hey, Chris.
How are you?
Great show. Long time, listener since you came on the air. Love your show.
Appreciate it.
I have a feeling I can't shake. Think about this for a minute. The left, including the left-wing media outlets, to me, they're falling in line too easily. Nothing's been easy for the Republican side of it or any other side of it. I think this is a planned distraction.
Distracting from what?
Whatever they're planning. I don't know what it could be. I was looking maybe for some input from you. I don't put anything past them. Another pandemic. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't put anything past them either. I do think that you're right. This is absolutely coordinated, and the media is throwing them under the bus. I think some of that has to do with the fact, though, that the media has been coordinated in covering up for Biden for so many years, and after that debate on Thursday, they were exposed as liars too. And these guys have healthy egos, and they want to be viewed as legitimate. For lack of a better word, that's how they want to be viewed. So they're turning on him because they can read the tea leaves too. He's definitely slipping. I think the party understands that he's definitely slipping. I just hope that Joe stays in the race as long as he can. Keep fighting, Joe. That's what I think.
Yeah, I do too. I hope that they, let off this Joe bashing a little bit so he stays in the race.
I know it. Let's keep our fingers crossed, Amy. Appreciate your call. During his interview with MSNBC, you can actually hear him fumbling his scripts on the phone while he's doing this interview.
And the folks out there in the local, race.
You hear him thumbing through his papers. You can hear it. But Biden said he's not going to be letting up at all, not even a little bit.
I'm not letting up, Joe. I am not letting up a little bit. And by the way, France registered. Look. You talk about Europe.
He's referencing the the left winning elections in France. And, France, they had a big victory, was it a week or two ago, the Conservative Party, and now they've lost all that momentum and lost the elections to the left. And he's pointing to France. Oh, look, they said that this was going to happen there too. Good luck. Good luck. Let's go to Mike on the road. You're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Mike?
Hey, not much. My thing is, I'm just afraid that Sleepy Joe's going to wake up in the middle of the night and decide to play, electronic football and nuke Russia. That's what I'm worried about. I don't care if he's crazy. I'm just worried about the damage he could do.
You said you're worried he's going to wake up and do what?
Nuke Moscow. Play electronic football with the football. You know what I mean?
I mean, I would. I wouldn't put it past him. I do think that he's got other people making decisions for him that wouldn't let that go down.
How would they stop him?
I mean, I think they would stop him the same way they always do. You just get him a glass of warm milk and send him back to bed.
I hope so.
Me and you both.
That's the most dangerous thing he could do in the world.
No, you're absolutely right, Mike. You're absolutely right. It is scary having this guy at the head of our country as we're dealing with this. As we're going down the road to the election, you don't think China's not licking their chops looking at Taiwan? You don't think Russia looks at Joe and says, yeah, we would love this another 4 years? Of course they do. Kevin in Nashville, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Kev?
Hey, Chris. Like I was saying to the screener, what Joe needs to be asked is why we had to evacuate 11 embassies under his watch.
Honestly.
This stuff isn't done. It's done because our enemies smell weakness, and they're going to bully us as much as they can until you punch back.
Yep.
And it'll keep happening. And why did he just recently give the Taliban $11 million? It's the same Taliban that he armed.
Yep.
But this guy, every question that he should be asked, like taking the sanctions off Iran to make things easier for them, he's done that. And he's got these, of course, there's a whole thing with the open borders. Why is he giving Hamas money? Things like that.
Yep.
These things he needs to be asked, because my question is, who do you work for? Because you're not working for this country. Yeah, and then more on his regular level, on his daily level, this is the same guy that needs note cards in a meeting with one person.
Oh,
that's not competent.
It's even worse than that. There's new reports out that White House staffers have reportedly created a document with photos and instructions for Joe to walk to the podium during events.
Yes. I was getting at that too, because he's been on note cards. Sit here, stand, follow this line.
Yep. One template of these documents was obtained by Axios, and it shows a large picture of the event space on different pages with words in big text that say "view from podium" and "view from the audience." And the document also reportedly shows two different photos with the words "walk to the podium," according to Axios.
So the guy is not competent. He's not up to the job. And one other thing that he said if anybody feels like challenging him, well, why didn't they challenge him? Well, I do believe Kennedy tried to challenge him and they locked him out.
Yep.
That was the party. They locked him out.
Dean Phillips tried to challenge him as well. Yeah. And they shut that down also.
So this is what they got. And correct me if I'm wrong. When those campaign finance funds were raised, they were raised for Biden-Harris. Don't the funds have to stay with that campaign unless it's her at the top of the ticket?
Exactly. Yep. You're absolutely right. So that 140 something million, I think it's $146 million war chest they're sitting on. If Kamala isn't the nominee, then they don't get to use that money.
Yeah. So they're stuck. They're going to either have to elevate her to the top or leave the ticket as is, because they can't just push somebody else up there, because then they got to start over. And if they do that, depending on who it is, and more voices are coming out to say it, if it isn't her, you're going to lose more of the black vote.
Oh, 100%. And they're floating like a blitz primary. Some Democrat donors and advisors are floating a blitz primary. where they're going to have candidates come out and they're going to be interviewed by Taylor Swift and Oprah, and it'll get a lot of eyeballs. I don't think that there's enough time for people to be introduced to a brand new candidate like a Wes Moore or a Gretchen Whitmer and have America fall in love with them and then beat Trump. I don't see that working out.
Nobody's going to fall in love with Gretchen Whitmer.
Fair.
Nobody.
Fair. Fair point. Hey, appreciate your call, Kevin.
All right.
Thanks so much. Kevin brought up the point about the embassies that have been closed under Joe Biden and attacked under Joe Biden. And Byron Donalds was actually talking about that in an interview with Sage Steele not too long ago. I think this was last week I played this, but I feel like it's relevant to what Kevin was talking about. But we've closed a lot of embassies.
We have lost 7 United States embassies under his presidency.
Yes. What does that mean?
So we have embassies all over the world in every country. That is essentially sovereign American territory. Under his watch, we have had to evacuate 7 United States embassies.
I did not know that.
That has never happened in American history.
So weak we
never.
are. That's how weak we
That's
are.
how weak we are on the world stage. That's how bad it is.
Okay, help me. Why has that happened? Why are we evacuating? Because there's no protection? There's no fear?
I'm going to say real quick, and I'm going to give it to Wesley.
Yeah.
When you are weak and our adversaries know you're weak, they push you. It's no different than the bully in the schoolyard. If you're timid and the bully knows he can get away with it, what happens? He comes for your lunch money every single week.
Yes.
Every single day.
Until you punch back.
Until you punch back. We have been weak under Joe Biden.
Yeah, and Joe's not asked any questions about this by MSNBC. He's not asked about the embassies closing by George Stephanopoulos. So even with these no-holds-barred, hard-hitting interviews, unscripted, well, we can hear the script in the background on MSDNC. And they don't ask him these kinds of questions. So how unscripted and no-holds-barred are these interviews really? And under Joe Biden, we're weak. Wesley Hunt is also in this interview with Byron Donalds and Sage Steele. He's a Republican out of Texas. And he brings up a story about Donald Trump negotiating with the Taliban.
I'm going to give you my favorite President Trump story. This is my number one favorite of all time. When we were negotiating with the Taliban, while President Trump was still the president, President Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan, but he wanted a conditions-based withdrawal, meaning that you do what we tell you to do, and then we will start pulling troops back slowly as long as you abide by our rules. It's President Trump and Mike Pompeo, and they are talking to Taliban leadership in the room, and they had one translator in the room. President Trump looked at the Taliban leader and said this: I want to leave Afghanistan, but it's going to be a conditions-based withdrawal. And translator translated. And he said, if you harm a hair on a single American, I'm going to kill you. And the translator goes, and Trump goes, tell him what I said. Reached in his pocket, pulled out a satellite photo of the leader of the Taliban's home and handed it to him. Shut up.
Got up and walked out the room.
That's what we need more of in America. That's what we need in a leadership position. But what we have is an old man screaming at kids to get off his lawn on MSNBC.
I'm reading from a list of lies. First of all, he was made up quote, suckers and losers. I was with he called the Americans in the cemeteries from World War I suckers and losers.
All he has is repeated old hoaxes. He can't say that he's leading from a position of strength in this country, Joe Biden. All he has is repeated, tired old hoaxes. That's it. That's Joe Biden in a nutshell. Bill in Franklin, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Bill?
Hey, I was just wondering, what are the chances with this phone call? Could that be AI generated?
I think
terrible audio on the thing.
I would think if it was AI generated, it would be a little bit more put together. You know, it's hard to fake that level of mumbling and bumbling.
You may be right. I was thinking about that. I was like, you add a bunch of that type of sound on it, you can never figure out whether it was really him or not.
Oh, I mean, with the way computers work, I could make myself sound like I'm in a phone call so quickly. My thing is, could they use it? Sure. Are they using it? If they are, they're using it very, very poorly. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that with all the, AI stuff coming up now, deep fakes and cheap fakes. Maybe they're trying to pull some of that now.
Maybe. I mean, it would behoove them to do so, but it doesn't sound like that they're doing that, especially when you hear Biden talk and he's just rambling and mumbling incoherently. It doesn't make the most sense to me that this would be AI, but I think you're good to be thinking like that, because you're going to get fooled if you're not thinking that way. And I appreciate your call, Bill. But how do you fake this with AI?
The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot. Just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce for president. Challenge me at the convention.
Challenge me, he says. I'm tired of these elites in the Democrat Party. Joe, you are one of those elites in the Democrat Party. It's 11:21 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey guys, Chris Hand here for my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. This is the time in your life where you do need to be thinking about the future. Maybe you're like me and you have kids and you're thinking about college or weddings or any number of things that can come. Maybe you're just thinking about your own retirement. Well, this isn't a hill that you have to climb alone. And you should talk to my friends at Paul Winkler Inc. You probably know Paul. He hosts the investor coaching show here every Saturday from 3 to 6. But you may not know that he started that show after he spent time studying under an economist who went on to win a Nobel Prize. That's how Paul got his feet wet in the industry, and he's an avid collector of financial planning designations today. He has up to 8 now, I believe. And my wife and I, we work with Paul. We actually had a meeting with him a couple weeks back, and every time I speak with Paul, I learn so much more. And we were even learning from Paul before I got my show on WTN. I would listen to his weekend show. And when I got here, it was such an easy choice to work with Paul. And it's because Paul and his team hold themselves to the highest level of fiduciary status. Paul wants to make sure I tell you I get paid to do these commercials. He wants the transparency. He wants the honesty. I love that. Where else do you hear that? But I don't get paid to be a client. I chose to be a client because I trust Paul. He takes the stress out of investing. And I like that his team does nothing on commission. I like that his team really focuses on education. And that was one of the things that I really needed help with, the education side of it. Help me understand what I'm doing with my money. Well, Paul has done that every step of the way. Paul's team will educate you so you never get that uneasy feeling of blind trust. They're going to look at your whole financial picture and then help you make some decisions. Set up your 15-minute phone call today by going to paulwinkler.com. That's all it takes to get the ball rolling downhill. A 15-minute phone call. Set up today. paulwinkler.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hear a defiant President Biden daring anyone to challenge him. Coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Challenge me, he says. I hope they do. I just hope that they fail also. Conservatives for Biden. We started that on the Chris Hand Show. He's the nominee we need, not the nominee we deserve. But so funny. I mean, listen, he's the best chance that we have. I'll take Kamala, but I don't want anybody else in there. Gets too murky too quick. Scott Jennings is a Republican contributor on CNN, and he says that the whole talking point of democracy being on the ballot is a grift.
The entire thesis of the campaign was democracy's on the ballot. And when George Stephanopoulos asked him, well, if you lose and all these bad things come to pass, will you be okay with that? And he said, well, as long as we gave it our all. Now, if I was a Democrat who's hasn't blinked since January of 2017, or one of these never-Trumpers who's worried about all this, and I heard Joe Biden admit that it's all just a facade, that it's all just a talking point, I would be freaked out right now to find out there's no animating issue for this campaign. It's just a grift.
It's just a grift. Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine finding out that everything that you've been fighting for and believing in was just a grift? It's just a grift. Democracy being on the ballot is just a grift. Some Democrats even think Biden is only remaining in power because of shadowy elites. A shadowy cabal is in the background pulling levers behind the scenes. Obviously. It's like, hey, where have you guys been the last few years? Daily Mail has this story. Terrified Dems have dystopian theory about real reason for keeping ailing Biden, 81, in power, as shocking new claims about his decline emerge. Top Democrats are so alarmed about Joe Biden's ailing health, some fear a shadowy cabal is keeping him in power so they can pull levers behind the scenes, it is claimed. The astonishing theory was detailed in the liberal New York Magazine. Its reporter, Olivia Nuzzi, revealed that even Democrat elites are stumped as to how and why the fast-declining 81-year-old is being allowed to continue his re-election bid. It's always is, has been, and will be about power. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 2 minutes. Tell you about the potential for a return of scattered showers and thunderstorms to Middle Tennessee. Election 2024, defiant President Biden on MSNBC's Morning Joe, daring anyone who wants to challenge him at the upcoming Democratic National Convention to do so.
Look, Joe, let's get something clear about 20 and 24. Not only were they wrong, I said they were wrong beforehand. I said we were going to win and how we're going to win. I didn't pretend about it. It wasn't like, oh, my God, I was surprised. I was not surprised. I predicted it. I knew what we were doing.
Biden calling the network after that 2-page letter posted to his X account telling congressional Democrats he's the best chance at beating Donald Trump in November. Hurricane Beryl now blamed for one death in Texas and more than 2 million power outages after making landfall this morning as a Cat 1 storm packing 80-mile-per-hour winds. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for
Hey, Stan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
.11:35 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. Find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on air. Got a text here from Matt. He said, I have a liberal friend online who actually said that he knows Biden isn't capable, but he trusts the handlers of Biden, whoever they are. Could you imagine casting a vote like this? That is so depressing and sad.
If you need a president that needs a handler,
honestly,
you're already in a deep enough hole.
Well, and the crazy part is they're still going to vote for that guy.
Yeah, the vote blue no matter what policy I think should be thrown out, gotten rid of. I know it's fake, but like so many are abiding by it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're trying to send Biden out there and make him seem palatable to the American people, and they're sending him all over the place. I mean, he's in Wisconsin. He's in Wisconsin. He's in Philadelphia. He's doing all these interviews. He's on MSNBC. You know one place that he's not doing an interview? Fox News. Weird. I thought he was. I thought he was all up for, no holds barred, hard questions, anything goes kind of interviews. Not with Fox News, according to Shannon Bream, who goes a step further that it's not even just Biden. It's his surrogates, his handlers, his delegates. It's everyone on the left.
Now, before we get to our guests, I want you, the viewers at home, to know something. Our team has spent days reaching out to dozens of lawmakers and Biden advocates and allies. We've had numerous interactions with the Biden-Harris campaign. But not a single potential guest was either able or willing to join us on today's show to defend the president and his decision to stay on the ticket. So we will be having a conversation without that voice, which we have been working around the clock to avoid.
So they don't want to even have that voice in the conversation in conservative circles. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that incredible? Well, the Dems are panicked. Their voters think Biden is only remaining in power because of a shadowy cabal pulling the strings, which we can agree with. I agree with that. But Biden is also meeting with Democrat governors, and he told the Democrat governors that he will stop scheduling events after 8 p.m. so he can get more sleep. Yep. On Wednesday, Joe Biden reportedly told Democratic governors during a meeting at the White House that part of his plan to solve the perception that he's senile following the disastrous debate and in that performance is to stop scheduling events after 8 p.m. so that he can get more sleep. CNN reported that several of the governors in the room left frustrated. According to the New York Times, the 81-year-old Biden was attempting to reassure them, these over 20 Democratic governors, that he could beat Donald Trump in November and govern effectively for 4 more years. And one of the ways he did that was he said, I'm going to be in bed by 8. I'm going to be in bed by 8. Biden campaign spokesperson Kevin Munoz attempted to quell the backlash to the story by saying, President Bush went to bed at 9. This is literally what he said. President Bush went to bed at 9. President Obama made dinner at 6:30. That's literally what he said.
I didn't know this was a battle of the bedtimes.
It's a battle of the bedtimes.
Let me get a storybook so I can read him to sleep.
He says normal presidents strike a balance, and so does Joe Biden. Is it the balance between stunned and dazed? Dazed and
Obviously.
confused? Obviously. Hardly the same rigor as Donald Trump. He says, this is a Biden campaign spokesperson. He says, hardly the same rigor as Donald Trump, who spends half of his day ranting on Truth Social about plans that would cause a recession and the other half golfing. Okay. Biden also reportedly said during the meeting, I'm fine. I don't know about my brain, though. I mean, listen, Biden's campaign chairwoman, Jen O'Malley Dillon, claims he was joking. Biden is obviously he's joking there, right? Like he's trying to be light. But you tell Democratic governors that you're going to start going to bed at 8 o'clock. You tell Democratic governors that your brain is not working. All jokes aside, are you reassuring anyone? Are you? After the meeting, Democratic governors Wes Moore out of Maryland, Kathy Hochul out of New York, Tim Walz out of Minnesota, none of who are up for re-election, claimed during a press conference that Biden is all in it to win it. Gavin Newsom was asked about the 8 o'clock bedtime comment, and Newsom says, listen, he's joking. It was a joke.
It wasn't a literal at 8 o'clock I will be doing things differently. It was more figurative.
Governor, just on that point, that's an acknowledgement by President Biden that he does indeed feel fatigued and that stamina could be an issue.
I feel fatigue. I mean, he says without defense or pretense. I mean, we all do.
So Newsom is obviously angling towards 2028. I don't think Newsom thinks that he's going to be going in as the nominee in 2024. And he's doing his best to cover and shield for Joe Biden. And that's fine, but do we believe that Joe Biden is staying up past 8 o'clock? Bernie Sanders also weighed in on Joe Biden over the weekend.
What we are talking about now is not a Grammy Award contest for Best Singer. Biden is old. He's not as articulate as he once was. I wish he could jump up the steps on Air Force One. He can't.
No, he can't. He's not as articulate as he once was. He's not moving as well as he once was. This is one of the weird talking points coming out of the left in recent days. Well, he doesn't have the same vigor. He's not running up the steps. He can't speak as well as he used to be able to. But all things considered, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. When he did his, it's so funny. So Biden went back to a black church over the weekend. He was raised in a black church, so it makes sense. And so Biden is there. We had the return of black church Biden. But before he even does his talking, one of the pastors inadvertently roasts him.
I don't know why it is that you want to make an issue of the president and his condition with stammering and not being able at certain times to bring forth words.
Why do you have an issue with his stammering and not being able to bring forth words? Well, he's the leader of the free world. He goes, yeah, but Joe can't talk, but all Trump does is lie.
While another person lies fluently and you never challenge his lies.
Okay. Nobody's ever challenged Donald Trump. Did you know that? No reporter. No one challenges Donald Trump. Okay. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. There's also reports that Biden's White House doctor, Biden's personal physician, met with a Parkinson's disease expert at the White House. Interesting. President Joe Biden's personal physician was revealed to have met with a Parkinson's disease expert earlier this year. White House visitors' logs show this. It's proven in the receipts. The report comes as Biden continues to be dogged by questions over his health and his age. Dr. Kevin O'Connor, that's Biden's doctor, met with Dr. Kevin Kennard, a Parkinson's disease expert from Walter Reed Medical Center earlier this year. The meeting took place in January at the White House, Residence Clinic, and included Dr. John Atwood, a cardiologist at Walter Reed, according to visitor logs reviewed by the New York Post. A fourth person was present at the meeting but remains unidentified. Dr. Kennard has been at Walter Reed for nearly 20 years. He's an expert on Parkinson's disease. He's served as the neurology specialist supporting the White House medical unit since 2012. His most recent publication in 2023 focused on the early stages of Parkinson's disease. Former White House physician Dr. Ronnie Jackson commented on the meeting, and he suggested it's a high possibility that the discussion centered on Biden's health. He said it's highly likely they were talking about Biden. He should only be regularly treating the president and the first family. Dr. O'Connor has been Biden's physician since he first took office. He gave Biden a clean bill of health during his annual physical last February. The examination included a neurological assessment that specifically ruled out Parkinson's disease. In the past, O'Connor's emphasized the importance of his role in supporting Biden's daily health, including regular verbal check-ins every morning. Following the presidential debate, O'Connor said he had a verbal check-in with the president, whom the White House claimed had a poor performance due to cold. So they're meeting with Parkinson's experts at the White House. So nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Frank and Beth Page, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Frank?
I saw that Jill Biden is campaigning all over the place. I almost have a feeling she's way more interested in getting him a second term because I think she loves the power of her office, people working for her and all that.
Yep.
I have that feeling. I heard they're also putting those little stair glide things on Air Force One so he can come in, buckle up, sit down, and just ride his way up on Air Force One instead of, I don't know.
Would they install that on the main stairs or the short stairs that he's been using?
On the main stairs, so he can get up to that 3-story mark, get off, have people hold on to him, and get wave at the crowd.
That would be perfect, right? He could do the dignified little queen wave when he goes up on the...
Then make like a splashing ride, have him come down. He just slide down and right into a little pool of water, and he'd love it.
I know.
He get caught by that 7-foot rabbit that comes out on Easter Sunday and ushers him around. And if you ask him a question, the rabbit comes up, waves, and kind of turns him the other way.
I mean, I feel like you're solving his problems. We shouldn't give him this many ideas, Frank.
Yeah.
Hey, appreciate your call. Let's go to Dan in Franklin on Super Talk. What's up, Dan?
Hey, good to talk to you again. Great show. So my take on this whole situation is that the top people at the White House and the Democratic Party, they came to Joe and they said, Joe, we're going to swap you out at the convention.
Yep.
And Joe talked to a couple people. He talked to Jill, and Jill's like, she's not having it.
Yep.
And maybe Hunter, because, whenever Joe bows out, he's got to commute his sentence. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. But what I think what happened was Jill and Joe, maybe it's all Jill. She said no. So that's when things start going haywire. And that's when they start telling Jerry Nadler and some of these other folks, hey, we got to get, as a group, we got to get pressure on Joe early so that by the time we get to the convention, then there'll be enough of a groundswell. Because they always say the Republicans are in chaos, but this is nothing compared to any internal challenge the Republicans have had.
100%. You're absolutely right. And let's also be honest. We had options for a presidential candidate. The Democrats have no bench. Who do you bring in, even if you are going to replace Joe? It reeks of chaos. It reeks of desperation.
Yeah, Jerry Nadler, I'm looking at him as a candidate. I just don't think so.
No.
Gavin Newsom, maybe a good-looking guy, but, man, California, everybody knows it's terrible.
Yep.
And again, the only way that they can win is, yes, if they cheat, which I totally get, and they did the Supreme Court things in the different states and all that. But we have to get all of our people voting, and we need to tell all of our buddies, you got to vote, you got to vote.
100%, 100%. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, we can appreciate the Democrat Party falling apart, but that doesn't mean that we need to sit on our hands. Like, you still need to be out there having conversation with people, telling them to get registered to vote, bringing them to go vote. Like, we need to be running a full court press until November.
And that's why we need to, I would love to see you guys, and I may have mentioned it before, and all of the other head, conservative and Republican, talking heads out there to have I voted parties. And so you invite people, hey, I voted, you get in with your sticker. We have to have some type of message that's like across the board where it's like, all the big names out there that are national and local guys like you. We're all going to be on the same page. We're all going to have the same message. We never have the same message exactly. And the Democrats always do with the mainstream media. Yep. And if we could get one big name to get everybody together and say, here's what we're going to do, and it's going to be, I voted parties, after you voted, everybody comes over for drinks or whatever the heck it is. We need to have a united message to get the vote out. We don't have it yet, and somebody needs to do it.
I hear what you're saying, and I think that messaging is tough, but I also think that one of the best things about this conservative party is that we're not lockstep. Like, I like that it's not groupthink. I like that we disagree. Even on the station as hosts, sometimes we disagree with what the other guys are saying. And I love that. I think that's one of our strengths, not one of our weaknesses.
Yes, I agree with you that as a Republican Party, we want different voices. But at a certain point, it would be great to get everybody on. I'm not telling you've got to agree with this guy and that guy about whatever particular the topic is. But getting the vote out and having a united message that's consistent, just on that, just one thing, the most important thing.
No, you're absolutely right. I appreciate the call, Dan. Thanks so much. Biden has actually committed to doing another debate. Did you know that? He committed to it over the weekend.
Do you value the thoughts of individuals in your policy?
I hope he'll debate me. I wouldn't be surprised if he was.
If he's in, will you commit to debating him?
I'm committing now, absolutely, whether he's in or not.
Do you value the thoughts of members of your own party when it comes to your decision to stay in the race?
Sure I do. That's why they've said, you guys saw the governors. Every one of them in that room. All those governors said, stay in the race. Laura Haley didn't say anything when I was in the room.
So he says that he will debate Trump again. He commits to it. I don't know if Trump should commit to that. Trump said that he would do a no-holds-barred debate with Biden. Challenged him to a no-holds-barred debate to prove his competence. I don't think Trump needs to do another debate. I don't. You just come right out and say, listen, guys, I remember the last debate. The American people remember the last debate. I'm not sure Joe does. And I think it's for the best interest of our country to not do that to him again. Vote for me in November. I think that's the move. Personally. What do you think? 615-737-9986. Would you want another debate? Does Trump have anything to gain from another debate? I'll take your calls on that next. Hang out with us. 11:52 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
President Biden on his Challenge Me tour. An update on that storm that is battering the Texas coast, and a Nashville woman arrested after a traffic accident sends her 4 children to the hospital. We'll have those stories for you at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Is that what we're going with now? Is it the Challenge Me tour?
Well, that's kind of what I came up with here.
I like it.
I really like that. Yeah,
I think that's smooth.
That's great.
CMT. The Joe Biden CMT.
The Challenge Me tour.
I love it. Well, the Challenge Me tour is going to continue. Des Dickerson is in for Matt Murphy. He's going to be checking in, letting us know what to expect in the afternoon. You're in all week, correct?
I am. So expect the unexpected.
Yeah, Murphy's filling in for Wilson this week. Dickerson in for Murphy, so he's got a great show lined up for you. I can't wait to hear his take on Biden. And whether or not he should drop out, if he will drop out, when he'll drop out. I feel like it's going to happen this week if it's going to happen.
And we're going to talk about all of it.
Well, Des is going to take good care of you the rest of the afternoon. Thank you for making me part of your day. Find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, at Chris Hand on Air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. Right now, it's time for JBC News with Jay Harper.